trading away McCollum, still are capable of beating the LA Lakers, and they did not have Russell Westbrook tonight, so you can't blame him for this one. The Lakers suffered their 30th loss of the season after losing 11 of their last 17. Magic Johnson hot off the presses. He's tweeting, after the Lakers lost to Portland tonight, I'm speechless. No words can describe how I'm feeling. Well, how do you think Rob Pelinka is feeling as the general manager, watching not only the Lakers lose, but the man who used to be his boss firing off tweets like this?
Maybe slightly better than Sean Marks, but still not good. And I've been there. Believe me, I'm not trying to poke fun of those guys. I've been there when you're under the gun at the trade deadline. It looks like you don't have a lot of good options either way. Yeah. But yeah, I've always thought that doesn't necessarily help the Lakers, right, especially Magic's history with the franchise as a player, as a 7-game coach, as a former executive. That's certainly not something you'd want from a current executive standpoint.
He is the former general manager of the Phoenix Suns, Ryan McDonough. He's going to be with us a little later on. He's going to break down the potential trade scenarios for the Lakers if Rob Pelinka is able to pull off a deal before Thursday's 3 p.m. Eastern trade deadline. We'll be with you all throughout the night and the day leading up to the deadline. He's Sam Mitchell. I'm Jared Greenberg. We're going to extensively cover this Lakers loss. If you thought it was wild after last night's loss to Milwaukee, where LeBron James essentially said, I don't think we could reach the level that the Bucks are playing at, here's what is going on right now after they lost to the Blazers. Frank Vogel is at the podium.
Yeah, well, we just got to play with better habits. You know, that's what we talked about. We watched film on it this morning from the Milwaukee game. You know, the habits of this team, haven't been executed at a high enough level to win at the level that we want to win at. And, we'll keep hitting them on it. We'll keep working. We'll watch the tape again, try to learn from this one, and continue to have that growth mindset.
Right, does it feel like lessons that you're trying to learn?
No. Some. I mean, look, habits are habits. You work on habits, and it takes time for them to develop, to the point where you're doing them every time without thought. And, the faster teams that build those habits, those are the teams that win. And, we haven't gotten them done, at a high enough level. So a lot of these losses are, every loss is different. Everyone feels different. And, this one's definitely disappointing.
Right. As a coach, I just wonder what this feels like when you have such a veteran team that, guys who have been through so many battles over the years, who we've talked about whether surprised or not. Does it just feel like we're pushing a boulder up a hill sometimes? Not with the players, but just in terms of
No, I feel like we can win. I feel like we should win this game, and disappointed that we didn't. And we'll get back to work and find out why we didn't win.
First game all year, you all have the result. Is Anthony LeBron in this situation? Like, you need more from that.
It's a team game. We need everybody, to play well, and whether it's the next man up mindset, guys filling in for Russ, or those guys taking a bigger role, with Russ out. We needed everybody to step up. There was a lot of positives, but, we gave them life, and, we let Simons get going in the second half, and just wasn't enough.
Specifically in the late game execution, last 5 minutes. What went into that? Sort of a related question. I think sometimes this team is too much confidence in the finish games like this.
No, I don't think it's about that. I think we know that, we're not good enough to feel that way. We have different guys out there, and, we had some bad reads down the stretch, turned the basketball over, and they got out and ran on the break and hurt us, so, if you have to not beat yourself first, you got to take care of the basketball, and you got to not foul too much. And, definitely the turnovers hurt us.
Right. know we talked about the trade deadline, but this is a guy who just has been talked about at this time of year. Is there a scenario where he isn't on this team after?
If there's ways to improve our team, we'll try to improve our team. Other than that, I got nothing to say about the trade deadline.
And then, as Dave mentioned, first game we've had without Russ this year, what was his level of engagement?
Yeah, he was engaged. Yeah, he was talking about things, pregame, in the film session, and engaged on the bench, talking to the guys and about what was going on. So he was engaged. Yes.
Frank, I'm curious, what do you think the mental sort of is this group in terms of Phil alluded to trying to push the ball up the hill? It does seem like this group has been problem solving basically since like the first day of the season. What do you think the mental toll of that is on this group? And do you think that 21 turnovers, maybe some carelessness, it could be tied to that?
I don't know if that has to do with the turnovers. I mean, that's just execution, but I do know that this has been an extremely difficult and challenging season for all of us. So there is a toll.
All right. That is Frank Vogel. And even through that 1995 version of video, looking at Frank Vogel, you can tell the emotions are not in a good place. We will take you back to Portland as soon as LeBron James takes the podium. LeBron knew what he was doing last night. There were some fireworks in his post-game press conference. If you missed it, he was asked about where his team is, and he unsolicited admitted that he doesn't believe this team, not now, not later, this season can reach the level of a Milwaukee Bucks or the defending champs. There's one expectation for this team this year. So what do you expect to hear from LeBron tonight when we get him at the podium?
He just proved their point. He said it, and then they came out tonight and couldn't validate it against a young Portland team that, to Ryan's point, it was basically a G League team the Lakers played tonight. And no disrespect to Portland, Chauncey Billups, ex-teammate of mine, is doing a fabulous job. He's got these young guys believing. He's got them playing hard. He's got them playing the right way. And this is a huge feather in the Portland Trailblazer and those guys in the locker room cap. You just beat LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and the Lakers.
What do you make of the comments here from Frank Vogel? He was asked, Bill Oram of The Athletic, who has been covering the Lakers every day for the last several years, asked Frank Vogel, is there a scenario he could see Russell Westbrook not on the Lakers tomorrow? And Frank Vogel's response was, quote, if there's a way to improve our team, we'll improve our team. I've got nothing else to say about the trade deadline.
Well, I take it as a couple different things. One is that, yes, you'll always try to improve your team. Obviously, there's tension and friction between Russell Westbrook and Frank Vogel. Westbrook did not play tonight with the injury. So I understand what LeBron and to some extent Frank Vogel are trying to do is put some pressure on the front office. Rob Pelinka, Kurt Rambis, and those guys to make a deal. The challenges that we've talked about is their assets have really very little value. Russell Westbrook at $44 million this year, a player option for $47 million next year, which he's certainly going to opt into. Talen Horton-Tucker was supposed to be the guy, the centerpiece of a deal. He has not played well. He does not have a ton of value. They still owe a lot of picks to New Orleans based on the Anthony Davis deal. So really, I understand what LeBron and Vogel and everybody with the Lakers want. It's just they put themselves in this position based on deals they've made so far, and the underperformance of the young players doesn't give them a ton of assets to play with.
Okay, we know this is the deal with the devil that you make when you have such high-priced superstars on a team, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook. It's the same issue Brooklyn's going through right now. To a certain extent, it's the issue Philadelphia is going through right now because they can't maneuver pieces around to make up for the absence of Ben Simmons, although they're playing much better than both of these teams. Russell Westbrook aside, there's a trend, an alarming trend in LA going on. Yes, the fringe pieces may not be good enough. They still have LeBron James, who is arguably playing at an MVP level, and they still have Anthony Davis, who finished with 17 points on 11 shots. That is 21 shots in the last two games. 10 shots in a loss to Milwaukee last night, 11 shots in a loss to Portland tonight. More alarming than that, 11 shots through three quarters. Anthony Davis took 0 fourth quarter shots in a 2-point loss to the Blazers tonight.
So let me see. You don't run plays for him. You don't run set plays. You don't put him in position in his favorite spots and give him the ball. And Anthony Davis does not have the mentality of a Kobe Bryant or a guy like that to just go get it, Ryan. Or when he touches it, just I'm going to do something with it. Look, it's on the coaching staff to get him more touches. It's on the players on the floor to realize who he is and the talent that he has. But it's also on Anthony Davis. You got to go demand the ball. You got to go get it. And every now and then, you have to force something. You have to let your teammates know, if y'all not going to give it to me in my sweet spot when I get it, I'm going to try to make something happen. And then you have to force them to pass you the ball. It is unacceptable for Anthony Davis to be getting these few shot attempts in 44 minutes of play. That's unacceptable. And he knows that, and everyone knows it. And if you have to spoon feed him the ball as the coach, you spoon feed it to him. He's got to get touches.
Yeah, I'm going to throw out an idea. Now that we're on Thursday, it is trade deadline day, less than 15 hours from the deadline. If I'm in the Lakers front office, I call the Washington Wizards. Spencer Dinwiddie has not played very well in a Wizards uniform. He's a talented player. We saw how well he played in Brooklyn. I offer a package involving Talen Horton-Tucker, Kendrick Nunn, and the only first-round pick the Lakers have available in 2027 for Dinwiddie. Now, in that scenario, you still have Westbrook. Maybe Westbrook comes off the bench. Maybe Dinwiddie comes off the bench. But, Coach, you have another playmaker, another ball handler. You upgrade your roster. We've talked about the difficulties of moving Westbrook. I think the Lakers have to make a move, guys, and I've scoured the league. I've looked at all 30 teams. I think that's the best one they may be able to make, given Dinwiddie's struggles in a Wizards uniform.
Hey, listen, I love your creative problem solving that you're doing here for the Lakers, but no offense to Spencer Dinwiddie, I think he still has a lot of value in this league. But the Lakers don't need another guy who is a shoot first guy. The Lakers need a play creator alongside LeBron James or a guy who can spread the floor.
Well, Jared, if you can create what they have into that guy, you should be GM of the Lakers.
Follow the yellow brick road, okay? Ryan, let me ask you this. Could you see a scenario, the Knicks need a point guard. Could you see a scenario where you trade Russell Westbrook for Julius Randle?
I don't think for Randle, because I don't think that even necessarily makes sense for the Lakers, given LeBron and AD, front court heavy roster, backcourt light. A more interesting one, Coach, maybe a more realistic one would be Evan Fournier hasn't worked out great in a Knicks uniform. He's on a big contract. Would both teams be interested in, for the Knicks, it would be consolidation. Some of the contracts they signed last offseason, which do not look great. Fournier, Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, a combination of guys where the Knicks get one star, you keep Randle, you get Westbrook in the backcourt, and then the Lakers get a number of players because, as you mentioned, Jared, they need a lot. That would kick some contracts out like Fournier's into the future, but I think those are the kind of things the Lakers are looking at and have to think about given their lack of good options at this point 15 hours before the deadline.
Could they just bite the bullet and ride out Russ' contract this year and next year? Just ride it out and see what happens after that?
And waive him?
No, not waiving his contract. He only got a year after this year left on his contract, right? He can opt in after one more year. So at some point, the Lakers are going to have to start building this roster and building this team with young players and draft picks.
But the issue is this year, right? And the issue for this team right now, who based on, and again, not to make too big of a deal of this because we've still got a few more weeks until this is a real serious issue, but a team like Sacramento tonight, and again, they beat Minnesota, but Minnesota is still better than the Lakers at this point in the season. Sacramento and New Orleans, if you're just joining us, we've been talking about this all night. They are going for it, and that doesn't mean championship. Not everything in this league has to be championship or bust. They need to make the playoffs, those two franchises. They now are putting more pressure on the Lakers, who prior to the trades that the Pelicans and the Kings made, the Lakers had a safety net in the Western Conference. It was thought to be impossible that they could not slip below 10th place and out of the play-in tournament. Now that there are two teams that want in, there is no longer that safety net for the Lakers to keep free falling without that protection.
No, I mean, look, you said it. Everyone below them is moving up. Everyone below them think they can get into that play-in tournament. And right now, look, think about it. LeBron James hates the play-in tournament. He talked about it. He think it was a bad idea. You think he thinking it's a bad idea now? Because, Jared, to your point, that's their safety net. That's what they may be playing. Think about this. LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook may be playing and fighting and scratching
for the 10th spot.
For the 10th spot.
And this is a team that needs to compete for a championship this year because this is a team that was built to win a championship. And at LeBron's age, listen, LeBron's playing at an MVP level. maybe not on the defensive end, but on the offensive end, he's playing at the MVP level. So you're the front office, your ownership, your narrow focus has to be everything on this year, here and now, because you don't know what next year looks like with LeBron.
And that's the issue with riding out Russell Westbrook for the 2 years left on his deal. 2 years from now, LeBron James is approaching 40. Is he still the same player? He's extended his prime as well as maybe better than any player in recent NBA history. Is he the same guy? The other issue, Jared and Coach, is you still don't have draft picks 2 years from now. You still don't have young players. So that's why I think they need to be aggressive. I mean, they have been aggressive. It's put them in this position. It's not the position they want to be in. But Jared, to your point, look at the trend line. The New Orleans Pelicans are going up. And especially when they get C.J. McCollum with those guys, we'll see what happens with Zion. But even without Zion, with McCollum, they're going to be better, I think, with the firepower, with Brandon Ingram in the lineup. And now the early returns, it's just one game for Sacramento, but the short-term returns after one night are good because they added an established all-star in the front court in Sabonis, who'll be the most dynamic front court player the Kings have had in a long time, with Fox in the backcourt and Mitchell playing a bigger role. So those teams are coming, Jared. And, if LeBron hated the play-in last year, he may really hate it if he's the 11th seed watching it on his couch this summer. He might really not like it if he's watching it with us, with those other teams jumping the Lakers.
And again, just to remind you on the format of the play-in tournament, the 9 and 10 seeds need to win twice to get into the 8 seed, right? The 9 and 10 need to win twice to be able to get into the playoffs and out of the play-in tournament. Sam Mitchell, Ryan McDonough, Jared Greenberg. Ryan's got an incredible breakdown for you coming up of potential deals for the Lakers. He'll go in depth on what could be done, although not easy to do. We'll also talk about Ben Simmons and James Harden. But we're on LeBron watch right now. Cannot wait to hear him at the podium tonight.
We may be waiting a while.
Lakers had turnover